Alright guys, welcome back to the channel here. It's been a long time since I posted any kind of a video of any kind. So I figured I'd give a little, post a little video here. We got a set of LB7 injectors to do. I did a video on doing a set of these a year and a half ago. And lost part of the footage, and which basically made the rest of what I filmed basically worthless. So, I got another set to do, so I figured I'd just refilm it and maybe improve on it. So, I'm here with the diesel dog here, and we're going to get started here. So, let's get this thing pulled in and get started. Alright guys, well there she is, old 2003 LB7. I don't know if you can see her or not, but I don't pull it the whole way in the garage. My garage I work out of is pretty small really, but I could do this stuff at work and film it I guess, but that's not really what I try to do. I really try to show people what they could do at home in their own garage really. So this is kind of what this is about. You could do anything at your own garage. I don't have a lift here. Well, no, I do have a lift here. It's not set up, and it won't fit in here anyhow. So this is just something you could do in your garage. LB7 injector. Sometimes stuff like this is intimidating to people. So this is just me showing you how you could do it at home in your own garage. Something not that big. So as you can see, like I said, I don't pull it the whole way in only because then it sort of gives me room to work, up here when this is where I'm doing the work. That's where I'm going to be working on it. I don't care if it hangs out of the garage. It's not, the middle of winter in Pennsylvania. So, it's not freezing. Actually, it's, September and it is smoking hot. It's like 90 degrees. As you can tell, I'm sweating. So, let's get started. Alright guys, just had a little trick here I figured I'd let you in on. Sometimes people don't really know this about, people call this a cat eye, or, whatever you want to call this body style. Even the body style after this trick works on, so I mean you could use it on and it works great. And I hardly see people do it, but I do it all the time at work and it's great. I'll just show you here. This hood, if you look at it, it doesn't open very much. It's just difficult to get underneath of there when you're doing, some, I don't want to say serious engine repair, but anything that's going to be for a couple hours or something, we'll say. So the hood just doesn't open enough, and it's just hard to get light in here because I don't have a light above this. That was part of what I was going to do, is mount this LED light I have up there, because I have yet to find a space for it, and there we go, found a perfect spot for it. Anyhow, so to let more light in, on top of being able to get more room, all you do is, there's the hood hinge bolt. I already took the nut off of it. It's just sitting there just for lack of time or whatever, but I took the nut off of it, and all you got to do is take that bolt out and you put the bolt back in here. I'll kind of show you. It's real hard to see, but you can lift the hood up a lot higher, and it makes it a lot easier to work on. Honestly, it really does. So let's give her a hack. Alright guys, so we're back. I disconnected the hood strap back to where we were. So, disconnect that like we did before. Just pop the bolt out. Work your arms over here, like so. Hard as a turkey. And initially, I'll stick the bolt in. Now you'll see now, because there's not as much pressure on it because the lever is against it, it will hold up with one, but personally I would not leave it like that. And see, I don't know if you guys can notice now or not, but it's just a heck of a lot brighter in there. It's unbelievable what that 2 bolts does for you. It really helps you out. Look how much open the hood is. So much easier. Well worth it, the 5 minutes it takes to undo 2 bolts and pop the hood up. So like I said, all you're doing, taking the bolt from here, putting it in this hole here. Alright guys, we're back here. Got the little light mounted. I don't know if you can see that or not. I'm just filming this on my cell phone, so I don't have a display to look at, so I don't know what you can see. So anyhow, got the light mounted, got some things done. Just a couple things I thought that I might mention. Disconnect the battery. Probably be the first thing. Both batteries. I got both of your connectors undone. Here. That's pretty straightforward. I unbolt them. There's 2 5 millimeter Allen keys that are back down there. We're working on getting this here upper coolant pipe off, and that's basically where we're at. I'm starting on the driver's side. A lot of people claim that this is the harder side. There's a lot of crap here, which I guess there is, but I really don't find this to be that bad of a job. It's just nuts and bolts. Alright, so here's one of my little tricks I got. With these being held together with, like I said, nothing but Allen keys. See, there's one in there. It's pretty crusty. And that's not the one that's kind of a pain in the butt. On this driver's side, on this upper valve cover, hard to see. You might be able to barely see it back in, but it's just real tight back in there and hard to get to that Allen key. So what I kind of devised certain things. I've seen guys approach this many different ways. This is just what I do. But this is just a generic old 5 millimeter Allen key that I had cut down. This is what I get that back bolt with. That's just what I use. I crack it loose with this. You want something that has, it's not going to focus well, but a good 6-pointed side. And then the other thing that I have here is just your run-of-the-mill, well, this is a snap-on socket, but nevertheless, I would say on stuff like this, basically because it's so crusty that you can see that bolt that I showed you. That's for the lower. That's got to come off anyhow, but there's the upper. You could just see that they are not in the best of shape. And I'll just be honest with this kind of stuff. It's kind of like you got to tap your socket onto there and make sure you have it driven down in the whole way, because you basically got one good chance of getting that bolt out. If it starts to round, then you're going to have to go different avenues. It's usually just not going to come out with an Allen key. You're going to have to try to extract it somehow. So that's what I do there. So you're going to want to drive your Allen key, just a regular old Allen key, and just tap it on there. Make sure it's good and seated. A little hard to see, but see, all the crust kind of makes it hard, and that kind of looks like it's on there, but that is really not on there, just barely. And if you try to turn that, probably wouldn't end all that well. You might round that off because these tend to be a little tight. So tap that on, get an extension, give it a few taps on there, and you'll be good. And then you can crack it loose. I don't use an impact on these. Even being a professional mechanic, I just don't. Now, I guess I should rephrase that. I crack all these loose by hand, and then I go after them with just, a cordless gun or an air gun or a ratchet, whatever you, by means you want to power them out, because after they're cracked loose, it's fine. And then the other trick I have is, because I can't get this big clunky thing back in there, I got this, and I'm sure some people have seen this. Let's try to get her to focus here. It's an Allen key that allows it to wobble. So what goes on is this allows it to flex a little bit. So you can kind of get back at that back bolt back there with just a little bit of an angle, and then you can zip it out. But I do not crack it loose with this. This is not the best thing to use when they're tight. This good chance this will strip it out. And I mean, this is a good socket. Again, it's a snap-on socket, but that doesn't matter. So that's just one of the little things I do here on these. Alright guys, got the upper valve cover off now. You can finally see down into the engine a little bit. Just doing a little preliminary checks here, just, you know, I'm always inquisitive, so I just seem to notice that, I'm sure you can hear that, probably can't see that well, but all of these rocker arms could really use adjusted. I don't think I mentioned that this truck has 230,000 miles on it. The other thing that I wanted to show you guys is, because I'm doing injectors, this is not that big of a deal. But look at all the crap that falls down into those injectors. Now, mind you, that was not like that before you took the hose off. What happens is, and I'll show you that too, that crap comes from the hose. That stuff was not in the injector while the truck was running. Don't let that construe you, or however you want to say that. But it may be hard to see even. Well, there we go. Maybe it'll focus. But you see that crap in there? It falls into the injector when the seal is broke on that bevel, and it's a terrible, terrible design with this. Well, nah, I can't say that, but it's just the design of it, and there's things you got to do to these to make that not happen. And we'll go over that when we're putting it together. Alright guys, so I'm here adjusting the valves on this Duramax that we're doing injectors on. I just wanted to show you how much play we had in there, if you could hear that or see that. But what I have here is a 12 thousandths feeler gauge. It's hard to read. It's a little old and crusty from being used a bunch, but it still works just fine. So what I'll do is, a good way to check these is, see I have the feeler gauge in there, and you could still have play. You could hear it. So anyhow, so this needs adjusted. This just happens to be the very last one I'm doing, because it was just the easiest to get my camera set up. But I just wanted to show you guys what happens. So crack the nut loose, simple enough, just leave it loose. I don't even leave the wrench on it. Some people do. It's up to you. Whatever you find easiest is just going to work, honestly. I'm going to try not to block the camera, but this is going to be hard. So what you do, or at least what I do is, so the valve adjustment on this is 12 thousandths for intake and exhaust. So I stick it in there, just kind of finger tight. It's going to hold itself there. You see that? And then what I'll do is take a long flat screwdriver. Just seems to be the easiest tool that I've found. Take it and just move this until it gets tight. Now the thing with these is, you got to remember, you actually want to make it a little tighter than you want it to end up, because when you tighten this jam nut up, it actually pulls this. This is like a threaded stud, and it sucks it up just a little wee bit, and it adds a little bit of play on this end. You can see it's a lever, so a little bit here equals a lot out here. So put it a little tighter than what you'd want, tighten a nut, and it's usually dead on. And you'll have to do some little bit of experimenting and whatnot. You know, it may take you a couple times, and you know what, that's okay. See, I might go just a pinch tighter. Okay, I've been doing, this is the last one, so I kind of got the feel for it at this point, where I like it to end up. And then you just take your wrench, you tighten her down. Okay, then we're going to check it. And you just want it to be snug. And see how much looser that is compared to when I was just yanking on it. I couldn't even pull it out before. So that's what you want there. And this is a 12 thousandths feeler gauge. Another little trick you guys need to know when you're working on these, just might as well adjust the valves while you're there. You're already there minus, you just got to put the engine at top dead center. And let me show you that real quick. And there's a mark on this flywheel, or no, balancer, I'm sorry. What am I thinking? And it is right there. You line it up with the mark, see it on the block, they're both lined up perfect. That's top dead center. And that's where you gotta have it. And you just put it there, and you'll look up the specs there. You could adjust it in just 2 stages. Top dead center on number 1, and then exhaust stroke on number 1. So you rotate it 180 degrees, and you're good. And that's it. So simple as that. So we'll keep going on, and I'll show you what other troubles I ran into. Alright guys, so we're back here working on the Duramax truck. I said when I was adjusting the valves that I'll show you the other problems I ran into. Good for you guys, you get to see what goes on. So basically I went and started popping the injectors out. I have a tool. I don't know if I showed you the tool or not. No, I did. I'm pretty sure I did. Anyhow, so I'm using the tool, popping all the injectors out. All the ones on the driver's side come right out, no issues. The back one is a little tight, but that's not really that big of a deal. Sometimes you'll have that. Get over to the passenger side, and they pop out all super easy, you know. Go to 1, 3, 5, and 7. They all just pop right out. And I just went through with that, and I just used the tool and was popping each one. I didn't reach down and pull them out or anything. Pulled 1 and 3 out and kept going about my business. Went to pull number 4 out, and this come out with it. So if you guys know, this would be an injector sleeve. I pulled it off the injector. So basically, I'll show you what happened here. These are naturally, it was when I pulled it out, it was stuck on the injector just like that. So if you're doing injectors on a Duramax and you happen to see your injector look like this with 2 little orange O-rings on it, well, you just pulled the injector sleeve out. Now, I will say, I kind of got lucky because typically I drain the coolant out of these when I go ahead and do them. Good practice to do. It keeps coolant from going everywhere when you have hoses disconnected. You just drain it from the petcock at the bottom of the radiator. So I did that, drained all the coolant out of it. But if you don't do that, what happens is when this sleeve pulls out of the head, this seals coolant. And if you didn't pull or drain the coolant out, the coolant's going into the cylinder now. So now you have a whole separate problem to deal with. You have to typically pop the glow plug out and rotate the engine around a couple times, you know, try to get all the coolant out of there, because an engine's not going to compress coolant. So when you go to start it, it's going to hydrolock. So you got to get that coolant out of there. But luckily, like I said, I'd already drained my coolant, so it wasn't that big a deal. Your biggest problems are going to be trying to, you're going to have to try to get the sleeve off the injector, which usually what I'll do is I'll pop this in a vise, and you could work some kind of a tool, flat blade screwdriver between here and here. So if I slide this on here, this goes up here, that's what it's going to look like. You're going to want to just slowly pry in there, and you know, you could work it down. And it's going to take a little bit of effort, and a small little pry bar works great once they get to about here, and you can pry it off and it'll slide off, and bada bang bada boom, you're done. But then you're going to have to order new O-rings. You need 2 new O-rings for your injector sleeve. You're going to want to Loctite this in. So throw some Loctite around here. Put some lube on your O-rings. This tool just it goes on there, and it basically does that for you. Let's just slide on there. Oh, a little hard one-handed. Terrible noise. And there you go. And that's your driver tool. But you see it's sitting on the lip of that, so when you tap it down in, it's good to go then. So you just pound her in and make sure it's seated the whole way, and then you could put your injector into the cup once you pull this out, you know, as you normally would. So then you could go out putting your injector in, and you're set. Then you're back to business. But that's just a little bit of, you know, things you're going to run into with these kind of things, projects like this, storing it at home. You know, all this, I've still done all this with just some pretty generic tools. Like I said, you don't need that injector cup installer. I have one, so it's not that big a deal. But if you don't, like I said, just a socket's going to work great for you. You're not going to have a problem just driving it in like that. Like I said, your biggest problem with those when that happens is the coolant. That's, you know, so if you're doing a set of these, just drain your coolant before you start, and you're safe no matter what. So, all right, so here we are. We're getting ready to put our new injector cup. Well, not new, just same one, new O-rings, and we're going to Loctite it in. This is just what I use. Put a little Loctite right on the sealing surface here. I also lube up the O-rings, so you're not going to tear your O-rings when you go in. And it's as simple as that. So we'll get to installing this here. Alright, so here we go. All gooped up with some good old red Loctite. O-rings are all lubed up. All we got to do is, I already cleaned the bore out. So if you're going to do this, clean the bore out first. But in my case, it's already done. You're just going to stick that in there, get her started. Grab your suitable hammering tool. And that's it. You can hear that it's a good solid hit on it, and that's seriously it. I just loosely put that nut on there. It's not really doing too much. It does when you use this as a remover, but it doesn't do anything really when you're using this as an installer. So, okay, and I'll give you guys a quick view of that installed. I mean, that's it, and now the injector is ready to go in, and we'll waste no time at all. I usually just jam the injector right in there, and I already showed you guys doing that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll be back with you guys with the next issues we got. Alright guys, we're back. So I was going to show you putting in an injector. First thing you want to do is make sure you have all your gaskets on. There's a little copper washer here. An O-ring here, and there's an O-ring you install right here. I put a little dab of grease underneath of this copper washer, and it kind of holds it on. You can see it ain't coming off. Otherwise, it will not stay there, and it's going to fall off and fall into the injector cup, and you're going to have more of a problem trying to dig it out and blah, 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 everything. So just make sure you have them on. Lube all your O-rings up. Lube this one, lube that one, and you're good to go. And then the only other thing you're going to have to do is make sure you have your hold down on the ready. Put your hold down on the injector, because you really can't get it on once the injector's in. And then it's nothing more than just setting her down in there like that and throwing a bolt to her. Now, actually, what I'll normally do is this is just a long pry bar, and it's just easier just to do this. I'll just tap it in. That's it. You got one injector installed, and you could then run your bolt in. Tighten her down, and you just installed an injector. Alright, so we're back at this Duramax here, putting the injectors in. I figured I'd show you guys how I deal with fuel feed lines. On these LB7s, they like to corrode. And I'll show you what I mean. See if we can get it to focus. Possibly. Focus. Maybe not. Anyhow, you're just going to have to kind of believe me if you could see that it's really rusty in there. And basically what you have to do is you have to clean that rust off so it seals really well. So you gotta find a way to clean it. It's some people say you gotta have these sent out and sonically cleaned, and I've heard all kind of stuff. I'll show you what I've do, and I've honestly never ever had a problem with them sealing. I had a few that looked really bad and cleaned them up, and they never leaked. So this is what I do. What I use. Let's see if I can find it. Here it is. It's just a Dremel brush is all as it is. And so what I'll do is I'll just end up putting this in the end of my drill here. I don't have a Dremel, although that would probably be nice. It might go a little faster, but this low-speed drill does a fine job of you know, doing what I have to do. You know, honestly, I feel like maybe a Dremel might be too fast. But you just go in there, you press against it, it kind of works perfect. You kind of woggle it around. But another trick I use is give it a squirt of WD-40 or a penetrating oil as kind of a lubricant. But that kind of stuff does work against rust and stuff and corrosion. So it'll help you, you know, work against that. So I'll clean this one up, and I'll show you once it's done what it looks like. Alright, so we're back at the Duramax truck doing the injector job here. Getting ready to start it, basically. I have this thing basically all back together. After all the issues we ran into, common issues, things you always really run into with these. Nothing too abnormal. Just it was a good truck to make a video on. You know, had a sleeve pull out on me, showing you guys cleaning the lines out and stuff. That's good stuff. You know, good stuff to know. I enjoyed making this. So we're about to start this, and I figured I'd make a video. Now, when I start these, there's no boost pipes on it. You know, you'll notice the air duct's off. I don't have coolant in it. I just want to make sure they run and it runs good before I put anything back together. Make sure I didn't miss anything. You know, give it a good once over. As you can see, you know, I got everything installed here. You'll see a little bit of fuel there from me bleeding it. I did already prime that a couple times. On that fuel filter head, you'll see a little fuel there. Then we'll come over here. Got all this back together. This is sort of the pain in the butt side, but it's all there. Again, no boost pipe on it. I kind of just want to make sure everything's situated where it wants to be when it runs and make sure it starts. So here's a new injector cold start, I guess you'd say. Pump away. It's like giving it CPR. Ugh. guys, there she is. First start. You see I don't have a fan on it, so we ain't gonna run it too long, but very good, very good. I was gonna check for some leaks, see how our injectors are doing. Well, must have got a little air. Alright guys, so just to wrap up a little bit of that video there, you know, I ended up getting it started, running good, put the fans back on, ran it for a good while after I had a little bit of coolant in it. No real issues, nothing major. I was just kind of trying to finish the truck up, so nothing of that was really filmed. So it was quick and easy. Like I said, topped her off with coolant, heated it up, got the fans on, all that jazz. And I took it for a small road test. I did film some of that, so I'll put that at the end of this video. Just a couple things I wanted to mention that I forgot to mention in prior was that you want to put some kind of a spray grease in the injector line, the high pressure injector line where it seals against the injector. That tube I was talking about, or like where the line goes down through it, you want to kind of fill that up with like spray grease or something, or even, you know, put regular grease on it or something, just so the dirt doesn't get back down in there and corrode the end of that line. That's what you're trying to prevent. So, but other than that, truck ran great. Customer was really happy, and we're on to the next. So we're going to keep chugging along with all these videos. If you guys like all this, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, leave a comment below. Love to hear from you. You know, I enjoy doing the videos. It's a cool, fun thing, you know. I'm always, you know, doing stuff at home. Here's another project here we're getting into. I do end up doing a lot of the Duramax work, but I also do a little bit of the little stuff. But